I was kind of walking along the beach and I was thinking about careers and how careers can kind of be like different seasons, right? And so this video is really going to help you identify what season of change you are in your career, which can really help you decide if it might be time to look for something else. So let me explain my theory, and I'd love to hear in the comments if you agree with this, if you disagree with this. I just think sometimes if you have models for the way you can think about careers, it can really help you get unstuck from where you're at, because knowing that careers will evolve, they will change. So the current status that you're in at the moment may be really different in the future. And by thinking about them is in terms of seasons, we can kind of do that. All right, so let me give you an example. Let's just say you're new to a role, okay? And let's just say that the induction was really good. You might be in spring. So you're in spring. So if you think about springtime, what's happening in springtime? Springtime is a time of growth. It's about new things coming out from the ground. It's about opportunities. It's about discovery. Things are starting to warm up again. Okay, so spring might be that exciting time when you start a job, for example, or it might be that time when you discover something new in a project, or it's something where there's some major change that's happened, and you're just starting to get an idea of what specifically that is. So that's really exciting. And then what happens after spring? You know, it doesn't always go through seasons, but if we go through this model fully, we get into summer. And summer's where things heat up. It's kind of you might take the foot off the pedal a little bit because it's getting a bit hot, or you might speed up and it's really hot. You become more of an expert in a job. So, you know, you in spring you can kind of be like, oh, I'm pretty new here, and you can kind of laugh it off and learn. But in summertime, you're kind of been around the block a little bit, so you know more, can grab more. And then, you know, summer's where you're sort of in the flow, but you can get burned. You can get burned because you're doing more, because you're pushing yourself further, because you're not just learning, you're kind of applying what you've learned. And then we get into fall or autumn. And this is where things start to kind of fall off a little bit. This is where some of the gloss kind of comes off. So that might be maybe your manager changes and then suddenly, you know, it's not as good as it once was. Or the project that you're delivering things for sort of collapsed over and you're no longer doing it, and you're kind of treading water a little bit, going, I don't know what the future holds. So autumn or fall is where things start to kind of thaw a little bit. The glamour and excitement of summer and spring aren't really there as much. It's still comfortable, but it's sort of, you're getting those little niggles, and you're starting to think, oh, maybe grass might be greener somewhere else. Maybe somewhere else in the world or some other job, it might be spring or summertime, because I know what that's like and I kind of like that. And then we have winter. Now, some people love winter in terms of normal seasons, but in this sort of analogy, I'm going to play to cliches and make winter really cold and dark. So winter is a period where you kind of really feel out of your depth. And not in a good way, not in I'm a learning way, but like, I shouldn't be doing this. This doesn't feel right. And the problem is sometimes if you've been in spring and summer or even fall for a really long time, you can get a snap winter and you're not prepared for it. You know, it's kind of like when you got to get your jacket out of the cupboard, it's a bit dusty, like you're not really kind of used to it. So winter could be that manager who's really toxic, or it could be, you know, you're doing work that you didn't sign up for, or it could be that, you know, there's been a major change in conditions. You're forced back to come into work when you kind of got used to working from home, or, you know, whatever it specifically is. Winter is that really challenging period. And winter, in a job sense or a career sense, is that time when you have nothing to lose, right? Winter's the best time to be looking for other jobs, because literally anything's probably going to be better. You can go from one winter to another, you know, that can happen. But most of the time when you're sort of looking at other options, because winter's quite dark and depressing at times, you know, most of the time it's kind of a little bit more springy somewhere else. So whatever sort of season you're in at the moment, knowing that it will change, nothing lasts forever. Emotions, by definition, you know, energy and motion, things will change as you kind of go through. And there are times when you'll go from spring to winter and spring, you know, it doesn't always have to go in that sequence. But it's just sort of knowing that whatever season you're in, it can change. And often the change that we can control is the stuff that, you know, is obviously within our control. So our control is, you know, we can look for other jobs where possible. Our control is we can look at what our attitude is and see if there's possibilities to be grateful for what we do have. And I'm not saying accept the suck. I'm just sort of saying that if you have a choice of letting the suck you down, it's kind of nicer to go, okay, well, maybe these 10 things aren't ideal, but what's this one thing that kind of is? With a lot of the career guidance processes that I did, we'd kind of look at, you know, what are your things that, you know, give you, what creates your job satisfaction at work? And there were things like, you know, task content, like how you spend your day, values, not values, like your boss, the physical environment. So, you know, if it was an air-conditioned office in summer, that's kind of nice. And, you know, growth, you know, if there was growth and learning in there. And it was really rare. I can't recall ever, maybe once or twice, when there was someone that had everything was, you know, negative. There was always some positives in there. So latching onto those over winter can really help you so that when it does become springtime again, whether it's in that current organization, at a different job or a different organization, you're kind of prepared for that. You just want to make sure that the seasons, just like real seasons, don't become all consuming. So if winter's coming on, you know, trying as much as possible to recognize that a spring will happen. Okay, so I hope this has kind of been useful, maybe a little bit too cryptic and out there, but I just thought I'd create something where, you know, if you think through something and you have a concept, there's no point keeping it to yourself. So I thought I'd bring it out there and maybe you can look at it and kind of identify where you might be, and sort of plan a few steps for how you could kind of get more to what you wanted to do. Okay, so if it was winter, how can you thaw it a little bit so it gets spring-like? What would spring-like look for you? So spring-like for you might be like where you do take on a new opportunity, or you do, you know, connect with a coworker you haven't for a while, or you do reach out to another organization. Because even the act of discovery or openness or learning and growing is sometimes enough to thaw some of that snow, so you can feel like you're kind of developing again. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe. Yeah, all right, bye-bye now. See you later.